my dear students, and welcome to your favorite educational YouTube channel, Educator Prerna, or as you popularly know me as English Wali ma'am. So आज के सेशन में, as we can very clearly see, we are going to be studying the chapter The Making of a Scientist. नाउ आप में से बहुत से बच्चों की मेरे पास रिक्वेस्ट आई है कि मैम हमें ये T20 सीरीज में जो आप सेशन करते हो जिसमें आप पहले चैप्टर समझाते हो, देन यू एक्सप्लेन अस द इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टर्स एंड वैल्यूज, हाउ अबाउट मैम कि जब हम चैप्टर पढ़ रहे हैं उसी में आप हमें जो इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टर्स हैं उनके कैरेक्टर ट्रेट्स प्लस इम्पोर्टेंट वैल्यूज हैं अगर हम उसी सेशन में डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. सो योर विश इज माई कमांड. ओके, सो अब से जो भी चैप्टर हम पढ़ेंगे उसी सेशन में, उसी T20 सेशन में हम लोग चैप्टर के इम्पोर्टेंट कैरेक्टर्स, उनके कैरेक्टर स्केच प्लस जो इम्पोर्टेंट वैल्यूज हैं उनको अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे. So T20 series EPL, easily perfect your literature or easily perfect your language. आज के सेशन में the chapter is the making of a scientist. Now जब तक आप ये बच्चे वीडियो देख रहे हैं, आप में से बहुत से ऐसे बच्चे होंगे जिनका स्कूल में ये सिलेबस कंप्लीट हो चुका है, राइट? और मे बी सिलेबस पूरा कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ बट आप ये चैप्टर ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हो. सो बेटा आई वुड स्टिल से कि तब भी डू वॉच दिस वीडियो, बिकॉज इस वीडियो से आप एटलीस्ट चैप्टर को और अच्छे से समझ पाओगे और अच्छे से रिवाइज कर पाओगे. सो डू नॉट मिस ऑन वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो. अच्छा, मेकिंग ऑफ अ साइंटिस्ट हम स्कूल में पढ़ चुके हैं, अरे हमारा तो ये सिलेबस ओवर हो चुका है. दीज वीडियोज आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू विद रिगार्ड टू योर एग्जाम व्यू पॉइंट, बिकॉज हर सब्जेक्ट की, हर चैप्टर की थरो रिविजन बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. ओके, एंड ऑफ कोर्स अगर अभी तक नहीं करा देन डू सब्सक्राइब टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल एंड डू लाइक आवर वीडियोस. प्लीज अच्छे अच्छे कमेंट्स हमें देके बताओ कि आपको चैप्टर में और क्या अच्छे से समझ आया व्हेन यू वॉच्ड द वीडियो, या अगर कोई डाउट अभी भी रह गया है देन प्लीज मेंशन दैट इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. एंड उसी के साथ डू शेयर आवर वीडियोस विद योर friends. Okay, so let us start with the chapter Making of a Scientist. At the age of 22, a former Scout of the Year excited the scientific world with a new theory on how cells work. Richard H. Ebright and his college roommate explained the theory in an article in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. So chapter शुरू होता है it starts with telling the greatest achievement that Richard Ebright had made, talking about how cells work in living beings. It was the first time this important scientific journal had ever published the work of college students. So another achievement कि एक इतनी prestigious scientific journal थी जिसने पहली बारी किसी college student का जो काम था उसको publish किया था. So and इसको compare किया जाता है कैसे, that at a big league at the age of 15 आप एक home run score करते हो. होम रन कौन से स्पोर्ट्स में होता है? इट इज इन बेसबॉल. फॉर रिचर्ड एब्राइट इट वाज first in a long string of achievements in science and other fields, and it all started with butterflies. So जैसे कि हम इस चैप्टर में समझेंगे कि जो रिचर्ड एब्राइट है उसकी वो जो जर्नी रही है ऑफ बिकमिंग अ साइंटिस्ट. सो हाउ डिड इट ऑल स्टार्ट एंड व्हाट वाज द ग्रेटेस्ट अचीवमेंट? An only child, Ebright grew up north of Reading, Pennsylvania. There wasn't much I could do there, he said. I certainly could not play football or baseball with a team of one. But there was one thing I could do. That was to collect things. So he did, and did he ever. Beginning in kindergarten, Ebright collected butterflies with the same determination that has marked all his activities. He also collected rocks, fossils, and coins. He became an eager astronomer too, sometimes stargazing all night. तो इससे हमें पता चलता है that Ebright was a very curious child and he had deep interest in various aspects of नेचर. उसको प्रकृति में बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट था, टू फाइंड थिंग्स, एंड दैट्स व्हाई ही वुड कलेक्ट डिफरेंट थिंग्स, जैसे कि रॉक्स कलेक्ट करना, फॉसिल्स कलेक्ट करना, या स्टार गेजिंग करना, रात को स्टार्स को ऑब्जर्व करना. सो रिचर्ड सिंस हिज चाइल्डहुड ही वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टेड इन ऑब्जर्विंग द एनवायरनमेंट. Then it says, from the first he had a driving curiosity along with a bright mind. He also had a mother who encouraged his interest in learning. She took him on trips, brought him telescopes, microscopes, cameras, mounting materials, and other equipments, and helped him in many other ways. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ रिचर्ड जो था ठीक है एक ब्राइट बच्चा है एंड हैड इंटरेस्ट इन एनवायरनमेंट इन साइंस, बट इसी के साथ द फॉर्चुनेट पार्ट जो रिचर्ड की लाइफ का था वो ये था दैट ही हैड अ वेरी सपोर्टिव मदर. I was his only companion until he started school. ये रिचर्ड की मदर कह रही हैं. After that, I would bring home friends for him, but at night we just did things together. Richie was my whole life, and his father died when Richie was in third grade. She and her son spent almost every evening at the dining room table. If he didn't have things to do, I found work for him. तो देखो किस तरह से उसकी जो मदर है, she knew कि मेरे बच्चे का अगर एक क्यूरियस माइंड है, so I need to ensure कि मैं उसको engaged रखूं कुछ कंस्ट्रक्टिव एक्टिविटीज में. And learn he did. He earned top grades in school. On everyday things, he was just like every other kid, his mother said. By the time he was in second grade, Everett had collected all 25 species of butterflies. So समझ लो सेकंड ग्रेड का बच्चा 7-8 साल का होता है, 6-7 साल का होता है ये बच्चा. तो उसने 25 डिफरेंट स्पीशीज जो थी बटरफ्लाइज की वो कलेक्ट कर चुका था जो उसके होम टाउन में मिलती थी. ये बॉक्स जो आपके इसमें बुक में बना है ऑन पेज नंबर 88, उसमें आप मेंशन्ड है ऑफ द डिफरेंट स्पीशीज. ठीक है, दैट प्रोबेबली वुड हैव बीन end of my butterfly collecting, he said, but then my mother gave me a children's book called The Travels of Monarch 10. That book, which told me how monarch butterflies migrate to Central America, opened the world of science to the eager younger collector. तो अब उसको पता चला कि और भी किस तरह की बटरफ्लाइज होती हैं. Alright, so इससे ये भी हमें पता चलता है that Richard had a lot of interest in reading books. At the end of the book, readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations. They were asked to tag butterflies for research by Dr. Frederick at the University of Toronto, Canada. Everett's mother wrote to Dr. Yogurt, and soon Everett was attaching light adhesive tags to the wings of the monarchs. Anyone who found a tagged butterfly was asked to send it to Dr. Yogurt. The butterfly collecting season around reading lasts 6 weeks in late summer. So ये पूरा explain करता है that how now he actually went into the research activity. Research के लिए क्या करना होता है, आपको एक practical वे में अपना मटेरियल कलेक्ट करना होता है, उसके ऊपर you need to have thorough information about that whatever you are doing a research on. He would catch a female monarch, take her eggs and raise them in the basement through their life cycle from egg to caterpillar to pupa and to adult butterfly. तो वो पूरी उस बटरफ्लाई की जो लाइफ साइकिल होती थी उसको ऑब्जर्व करता था. And he was a very young child. Eventually I began to lose interest in tagging butterflies. It's tedious and there is not much feedback. Everett said, in all time I did it, he laughed. Only 2 butterflies I had tagged were recaptured, and they were not more than 25 miles from where I lived. So अब रिचर्ड बताता है कि initially I had a lot of interest in this work, but धीरे धीरे कहीं ना कहीं वो इंटरेस्ट कम होता गया because उसका मुझे कुछ कंस्ट्रक्टिव रिजल्ट नहीं मिल रहा था. Then in the 7th grade he got a hint of what real science is. Okay, so अब जब रिचर्ड 7th क्लास में गया, that means he must be around in the age group of 11 to 13 probably. So उसको पता चला कि actual science जो है वो कैसे practice होता है, कहाँ पर एक science fair में. He said it was really a sad feeling to sit there and not get anything while everybody else had won something. Everett said his entry was slides of frog tissues which he showed under a microscope. He realized that the winners had tried to do real experiments. not simply making a neat display. So अब एब्राइट को समझ आया कि रियल साइंस जो प्रैक्टिस होती है उसमें क्या होता है कि आपको एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करके दिखाना होता है, एक डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन करके दिखाना होता है किसी एक आपकी फाइंडिंग का, एंड दैट्स व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज साइंस. ऐसा नहीं होता कि आपने एक नीट ऐसे ये दिखा दिया कि देखो मैंने ये प्रेजेंटेशन बनाई है. नो, देयर हैज टू बी अ डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर theory, maybe a particular rule or something. Already the competitive spirit that drives Richard was appearing. I knew for the next year's fair I would have to do a real experiment. So इससे क्या पता चलता है, जो रिचर्ड था, he was also open to feedback and he was also open to improvement. कि उसको समझ आया कि अच्छा मुझसे ये गलती हुई है, so he decided to work on it so that next year जो science fair है इसमें उसमें he could win the prize. The subject I knew most about was the insect work I had been doing from several years. So he wrote to doctor for ideas and back came a stack of suggestions for experiments. So Dr. Yogurt जिनसे वो बात करता था regarding the tagging of butterflies, उन्होंने बताया कि रिचर्ड को क्या करना चाहिए for the science fair. So those kept Everett busy all through high school and led to prize projects in country and international science fairs. For his 8th grade project, Everett tried to find the cause of viral disease that kills nearly all monarch caterpillars every few years. Everett, through the disease might be carried by a beetle. He tried raising caterpillars in the presence of beetle. I didn't get any real results, but I went ahead and showed that I had tried the experiment and this time I won. तो रिचर्ड ने एक एक्सपेरिमेंट करके शो करा, डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करा, and he won the prize. Next year जो साइंस प्रोजेक्ट था, टेस्टिंग द थ्योरी दैट वाइसरॉय butterflies copy monarchs. The theory was that viceroys look like monarchs because monarchs don't taste good to birds. Viceroys, on the other hand, do taste good to birds. So the more they look like monarchs, the less likely they are to become birds' dinner. So he is telling कि जो एक monarch butterflies हैं, वो कोशिश करते हैं that जो viceroy हैं, they try to look like monarchs so that जो बर्ड है वो सोचे ये तो monarch butterfly है and this is not tasty to eat, तो मैं इसको कैप्चर नहीं करूंगी. Okay, so Everett's project was to see whether the birds would eat the monarchs. He found that a starling would not eat ordinary bird food. It would eat all the monarchs it could get. Everett said later research by other people showed that viceroys probably do copy the monarchs. The project was placed first in zoology division and third overall in the country science fair. तो किस तरह से रिचर्ड जो है वो एक्सपेरिमेंट करता रहा. Second year में क्या हुआ, Richard Everett began the research that led to discovery of an unknown insect hormone, indirectly also led to the new theory of life of cells. The question he tried to answer was simple. What is the purpose of 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa? तो अभी भी वो कहीं ना कहीं butterflies से पर ही experiment कर रहा है. So everyone assumed that the spots were just ornamental, they were just for decoration purpose, कि उसकी body beautify हो, इसलिए सबको लगता था. But Everett said, but Dr. Yogurt did not believe it. To find the answer, Everett and another excellent science student first had to build a device that showed the spots were producing a hormone necessary for the butterfly's full development. तो जो butterfly थी उसकी बॉडी पे जो गोल्डन स्पॉट्स थे, एवरेट वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये क्या कोई हार्मोन होता है जो बटरफ्लाई की पूरी डेवलपमेंट में हेल्प करता है. तो इसीलिए उनको एक डिवाइस बनाना था ये शो करने के लिए या ये प्रूव करने के लिए. So the project won Everett's first place in the country fair and the entry into international science and engineering fair. There he won the third place for zoology. He also got a chance during the summer, to work of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. As a high school junior, Richard continued his advanced experiments on the monarch pupa. So he kept on working on this. In his senior year, he went a step further. He grew cells from a monarch's wing in a culture and showed that cells would divide and develop into normal butterfly wings scales only if they were fed the hormone on the gold spots. So अब एब्राइट ने बताया कि अगर वो गोल्ड स्पॉट्स जो हैं वो होंगे तभी बटरफ्लाई जो है उसकी प्रॉपर ग्रोथ हो पाएगी. That project won first place for zoology at the International Fair. The following summer, after his freshman year at Harvard University, Ebright went back to the laboratory of the Department of Agriculture and did more work on the hormone of the gold spots. So वो उस पे काम करता रहा. Then now comes the turn in the story. A year and a half later, during his junior year, Ebright got the idea for his new theory about cell life. It came while he was looking at X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone. So वो hormones जो थे उनको X-ray photos he was looking at them. So when he saw those photos, he didn't shout Eureka. Eureka का मतलब क्या होता है कि मैंने कुछ नई चीज ढूंढ ली है. Or even I've got it. He believed that along with his findings about insect hormones, so Richard को ये समझ आया कि जब उसने इंसेक्ट के हार्मोन्स को अच्छे से स्टडी करा है, उसी के साथ the photos gave him the answer to one of the biology's puzzles, that is how the cell can read the blueprint of its DNA. DNA is the substance in the nucleus of cell that controls heredity. It determines the form and function of the cell. Thus, DNA is the blueprint of life. I'm sure आप सबको DNA उसका जो एक बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट है उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. आपका जो DNA है वो आपके फादर से पेरेंट्स से हमेशा मिलता है, right? So that DNA tells the theory of life कि हम ये जो exist कर रहे हैं हमारी बॉडी में जो DNA cells हैं, these tell us about our existence, about our growth as human beings. Ebright and his college roommate James R. worked all that night drawing pictures and constructing plastic models of molecules to show how it could happen. Together, they later wrote the paper that explained the theory. So DNA की जो theory थी उसको उन्होंने समझाया. Surprisingly, no one knew him. Richard Ebright graduated from Harvard with highest honors, second in his class, and he went on to become a graduate student research at Harvard Medical School. Then he began doing experiments to test his theory. If the theory proves correct, it will be a big step towards understanding the process of life. कि human beings की reproduction जो है ये इसमें भी क्या role है. All right. And then, of course, this was because of his scientific curiosity. And he had been interested in science. He first began collecting butterflies, but not so deeply, hasn't time for other interests. He also became a champion debater and a public speaker. He was an expert photographer. And of course, it also talks about he also found someone to admire and his social studies teacher and advisor. Then he would always give that extra effort, Mr. Weir said. What pleased me was he was the person who put his 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research besides doing all his research with butterflies. Richard was competitive, but not in a bad sense. So he wasn't interested in winning just for the sake of it. So he was really interested to prove that he has done some research, he has done some preparation. And that is one of the ingredients. So it says rather he was winning because he wanted to do the best job he could. For the right reasons, he wanted to be the best. And that is one of the major ingredients in becoming a scientist. So he had first-rate mind, he had curiosity, and of course, that thirst to win for the right reasons. And he had these qualities. From the time the book The Travels of Monarch X opened the world of science to him, Richard Ebright has never lost his scientific क्यूरियोसिटी. अब बहुत से बच्चे मेरे पास आते हैं कि मैम इसमें तो बहुत ज्यादा साइंस चीजें हैं. सो यू डोंट हैव टू वरी. basically what you need to understand in this chapter is the research work that he had done and obviously about the DNA theory. ओके सो ये तो हुई चैप्टर की बात. अब हम आते हैं एज रिक्वेस्टेड बाय ऑल ऑफ यू कि मैम कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ा सा 20 मिनट्स जो है उससे ज्यादा भी होता है कोई बात नहीं, बट आप हमें इसी के साथ कैरेक्टर्स के बारे में एक्सप्लेन कर दो और उसी के साथ आप हमें इंपॉर्टेंट वैल्यूज भी समझा दो. सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट रिचर्ड एच एवराइट, so what are the important characters? So we know of course for sure that he was of a curious mind, all right. Then he was always determined to achieve his goal. Okay, he was of course open to feedback. He had a positive mindset. And of course, he had interest in varied other things apart from science. अब जितने बच्चों ने सब्सक्राइब किया हुआ है हमारा चैनल, उन सबको ये पता है कि मैम हमेशा बोलते हैं कि जब भी आप किसी कैरेक्टर के कैरेक्टर ट्रेड्स बताते हो, आपको सिर्फ ये लिस्ट नहीं करने, यू नीड टू कोट एग्जाम्पल्स फ्रॉम द चैप्टर. Okay, so we know that he was curious because you know how he was tagging the butterflies. We know he was determined that you know he when he came to know कि science fair में prize जीतने के लिए I need to do real experiments, show real experiments. So he started working on that. Ma'am, आपको I'm giving probably one example each. You can of course add on to more examples. He was open to feedback. Again, the same example. You know, when he was told that you need to do real experiments, so he worked on it. Positive mindset. So when you know his teacher says that he never wanted to win just for the sake of it, but win to be the best for the right reasons. Okay, so this is about Richard Ebright. Talking about his mother, she was of course very supportive with regard to her child's aspirations and interest. Okay, understood the chapter? We will meet in the next session of this chapter, जहां पर हम इस चैप्टर के क्वेश्चंस जो हैं उनको अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे, उनके आंसर. I will tell you the key points and of course what are the important points in the chapter, and उसी के साथ some important extra questions. और जिन बच्चों ने अगेन जो पहले फर्स्ट टाइम ये वीडियो वॉच कर रहे हैं, उन सबको मैं बता दूं that you know when we talk about the character traits of a person, उसी से हमें चैप्टर में जो वैल्यूज बताई गई वैल्यूज हैं उसी से हम फॉर्म करते हैं. लाइक वी शुड बी डिटरमिन्ड टू अचीव आवर गोल, वी शुड बी डिटरमाइंड टू अचीव आवर गोल, वी शुड ऑलवेज बी ओपन टू फीडबैक, वी शुड बी क्यूरियस you know for right things, we should have a positive mindset, we should be supportive to people around us. Okay, so we will meet in the next session. जिस सेशन में हम इस चैप्टर के क्वेश्चन आंसर्स जो है उनको अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे. टिल देन स्टे ब्लेस्ड and do like, share and subscribe to Educator Prerna. Thank you.